Good morning everyone, welcome to Morning Markets on Monday the 10th of February. A couple of things that we talked about at our morning meeting this morning to highlight. The first, looking forward to this week, what economic data are we going to see? We touched on a couple of aspects there. The first being we get UK GDP data for the fourth quarter of 2019 this week. We're not expecting anything from that. It's quite strange for me to say, but it might be a non-event from an economic perspective. But what it may give is a little sense about where the economy was positioned in the fourth quarter and how we should think about 2020 as a result. More interestingly, possibly for the market, we get a sense from Jay Powell, that's the chairman of the Federal Reserve in the US. He's giving his twice yearly statement to Congress. Why is that interesting to us? A couple of factors I think worth mentioning. One, we'll get a read on how he's thinking about the impact of the coronavirus on the US economy. Secondly, if we get any hint that the US Fed may think about cutting rates proactively to combat any of the global weakness that we will see as a result of the coronavirus. And then thirdly, maybe a little nerdy thing to talk about, but we may get a sense of how the Fed are thinking about their policy review that's ongoing at the moment. That's interesting from the perspective of what it will mean for the inflation target. The US has a 2% inflation target today. They've consistently not hit that post-financial crisis. They're looking at what is potentially a different way to think about inflation and inflation targeting. So any hint on that could be very interesting. We also get at the actual US inflation reading on Thursday, I think, this week. So again, a number below 2% expected, but the Fed have a 2% target, so not achieving that. I think the other thing we discussed this morning was just the strength in the US jobs market. If you remember back to last week, we spoke on the ADP jobs numbers, which were very strong. This was again backed up in the labour market data that came out on Friday. Somewhat masked, I think, because the market was generally weaker on Friday as a result of the news flow around coronavirus. And then just finally today, we touched on last Friday the impact that some companies had started to see from the coronavirus and the impact that that was having on its supply chain. We've another strong week of earnings reports, both from European companies and from US companies. I'm not going to comment on individual company earnings as we go through this week, but like last week, I'll try and pull together a few trends that we can discuss on Friday. Thanks very much for watching.